Hey, I'm John Rinke. Worked with Joe for 14 years at the GW Zoo, and we've become pretty close during that time. I know a little bit about the zoo, yeah. The daily operations and some of the in and outs and some of the excitement, I guess you should say. It's been a big part of my life for 14 years. It changed my life. Ended up getting divorced over it and moving on now, and I don't know. I still love animals. People, not so much. I hate people. People stab you in the back, them animals won't. They just bite you and go on.
Do you remember any conversations about the USDA telling you guys to write donated on the top of the transfer forms?
Most of the time, that's usually what I wrote was donated. If I did a transfer form, we just donated it. Just because it was just easy. I mean, our inspector was hammering our ass about filling them out proper anyways. We would never put a driver's tag on, a car or tag. They wanted full descriptions from then on. They wanted the driver's license number, the tag number, the type of car, the color of the car, the name of the person, and they never wanted all that before. It was just donating it, and there it goes. This is where it's going. This is where it's coming from, and that was it. And then towards the end, they just started asking for more and more information about who was doing what. And I'm sure it had something to do with what was going on, because during the interview, they wanted to know, they had me giving somebody a brown envelope in a certain car and a certain guy. And I said, I don't remember that. I mean, I did so much stuff. I transferred so many animals. Who the hell knows what it was? But I'm sure it had something to do with all that.
Let me ask you a question. Whenever you use a tranquilizer on a tiger, how long does it take for them to succumb to that?
It takes, when you dart a cat, it takes about 15, 20 minutes for them to actually go down to where it's safe enough to go in. And sometimes it take longer. I mean, if I missed the dose, I'd have to dart them twice.
Let's talk about working on the zoo. I know that you, Joe, others, you guys would work whether you're sick or not. As far as being tired, people working on the zoo, did Jeff and Lauren, did they have the same work ethic for the tigers?
No, Jeff and Lauren didn't work, man. They did not work. Jeff sat at his desk, and Lauren just was Lauren. If she was around.
No feeding, no water?
No, they didn't do none of that shit. They still don't do none of that shit. They wouldn't clean cages, feed cats. Every now and then they go back there and visit their cats, but other than that, they just walked around and looked pretty and entertained their damn young guest. No, they didn't rape, pick up poop, no.
Did you ever have any injuries, wear legs out at the zoo?
Oh, shit, man. I'm pretty sure that's why I lost my second foot, because I wouldn't quit. I'm not a quitting kind of guy. I'll work and work and work and until I just can't no more. I've been bit. I've been scratched by just about every kind of animal out there. I've been bit by a retic. I've been bit by a bear. Clawed by a mountain lion. I've been bit by a tiger. I've been bit by a lot. I mean, I was there when Joe got bit. I got bit. Joe got bit, but Joe survived. He took the injuries. When the USDA would show up, they started bringing armed guards. They started bringing feds with them. I don't know if that's what it is. They felt threatened by Joe for some reason. I don't know why, but our facility was the only facility they had armed people with the USDA inspectors. USDA inspectors ain't all veterinarians. A couple of our inspectors were actually fresh out of school and got a license to be an inspector, and bam, we get them.
So they're new.
They're new, yeah. And they don't always know everything. I mean, they don't even know all the laws that they're supposed to be promoting and teaching us. Joe wasn't always the kind and friendly guy. Most of the time he was, because I'd make him. Most of the time I wouldn't let him do the inspections. I would do them because I don't need any turmoil with the inspectors. I didn't need any write-ups is what I didn't want. So I really tried to pacify them. If I couldn't fix it right there while they're on the spot, I would promise them it would get done. I built a pretty good rapport with the USDA inspectors. But then, every now and then, they'd hear Joe yell or something like that. But it was stupid whenever he did. If he had something to say, it was stupid because the week before we could do it this way, but then the next week we can't do it this way. Well, don't tell us we can do it one way and not the other. Don't tell us there's a law about how high the fence is when it's not written in gold nowhere. You know, this is just a speculation, and we got to spend $50,000 to make your speculation right, and it might be wrong next week? That's bullshit.
Did you ever think that there was, when the U.S. government would tell you something, did you ever feel like they knew when the USDA would say, you know, the fence has to be this much higher? Did you feel confident that they were telling you something that they knew, or was it speculation?
No, it was speculation. It was always speculation on it. That fence thing was a nightmare because we had, I don't know, 500 pins, man. I mean, we had miles of pins we had to fix. And they'd give you a week or two, you know, sometimes a couple months to fix it, which was just not going to happen. It would take months to do all that.
Do you think that the regulatory agencies that regulate zoos, such as the one that you worked on, the GW Zoo, do you think that they are competent in their job scope? I mean, do they know what they're looking for?
They don't know what they're looking for. They might have a little bit of a clue, but the big picture, they have no idea. They'll ask you to do stuff like, we got rode up for a dead mouse on a sidewalk. So we had to put out mouse traps to catch all this stuff, to keep them from going in cages. And when they eat the poison, how are we supposed to tell them where they're going to die? We can't tell that mouse where to die. All we can do is pick that mouse up. And we got rode up for that a couple times, actually. And I don't, you know, they ask you to do stupid stuff like that right there. Now, how in the hell are you going to tell that mouse he can't die in a cage, man? It's just like school. Just because you're learning this here doesn't mean you're going to do that out here. This is a whole different world out here. And they haven't, you know, and most of their they got a blue book that's about this thick. And all it talks about is seals and whales and dolphins. I mean,
not a lot of seals, whales, or dolphins in Oklahoma, right?
No.
Are you aware that Saff took $1,400 and lied about?
Lied right to my face, man. You know, Saff come back and Joe had sent some money, and I can't remember now what the transaction was, but there was supposed to be money left over, and Saff just flat out lied and said she didn't, there wasn't no money left, wasn't no money left. And when we found out there was money left, Saff had kept it and spent it, but it took me forever. I mean, Saff lied right to my face about that. When Saff come along, I had my doubts about Saff at first. I'd have swore Saff was animal rights, and I brought it up to Joe and several others. I was just skeptical, but I was skeptical about everybody. Let me put that out there too. But then one incident, you know, Saff lost an arm, got bit, got pulled in a cage, and they took from the elbow down, they just de-skinned it. And right after Saff had surgery and was in the hospital, and I think this is I think the Oklahoman printed it. One of the animal rights groups said that there was supposed to be an accident, but it wasn't supposed to be this severe. Well, that just made the hair on the back of my neck stand up that much more, because I just didn't trust them. You know, I had my doubts, just some things that were said, things that were done. I just knew something was fishy, and you know, was she animal rights? I don't know, but or he, I don't know, but
it almost sounds like
I had my doubts.
It almost sounds like maybe it was planned.
Like it was, yeah. I mean, and me and Joe talked about it too. I'd have swore it was after that comment was put in the press and put in ink. I was confident that accident was set up, and somebody was paid to have that accident happen. I was pretty confident at that time. How do I feel about Saff now? You know, Saff's all right. You know, I fired Saff a couple times. Joe hired back, and it's just one of them things. You know, I just got used to if I fired him, Joe would hire him back because we needed help. I warned him, all that. I don't know if Saff's animal rights. I have no idea. Yeah, you know, Travis got stuff from Jeff all the time from Vegas, you know, because you can buy that stuff out there. Everybody knows Travis smoked weed and did his little oils and stuff. That's a no-brainer. Everybody knew that. I think the family come out and said he wasn't on drugs. Well, they're crazier than hell. That boy smoked more weed than they can grow in Oklahoma. Jeff would mail Travis some packages and stuff like that. And at the time, Joe was taking CBD oil because we heard CBD oil helped you if you took it and you didn't get the high off of it. And then Jeff had actually sent not CBD oil, he sent hash oil, and you actually get the high effect off of it, and messed Joe up there for a while. Took a little bit to figure out what was going on, but we figured it out. But I think Jeff Lowe knew better. I think Jeff knew better. That's why he sent it, I think, and run with it. Jeff come along, and they would spend. I mean, he put in monitors at his desk like a theater, and he would sit there and just Google women, girls actually, young girls. Ooh, this would look good. Look at this, Lauren. Ooh, this would look good. Look at this, Lauren. I mean, it was crazy what they would do, just sitting there hunting for their next victims or prey or whatever you want to call it. You'd see girls come in and out all the time out of their house. I got a baby tiger. Come see this. He would actually, he did most of the looking up where Carol's property was, because he could work at Google Earth. Nice, man. I mean, he'd zoom right in on shit and make it look good. So, I mean, that's how Joe actually seen the outlay of Carol's property, was Jeff Lowe. Jeff showed it to him, yeah. He said, look at this, look what I can do. And then, holy crap. But, I mean, he had huge monitors and everything. It was like watching a theater. But, yeah, he spent most of his time online. And when he wasn't doing that, he was looking up stuff to buy and sell. And they started that credit card thing. They came to me and asked me if I'd take one to my doctor and get him to cash it. And I said, are you kidding me? I need my doctors. He said, tell him we'll give him 50% of it. No, that's not going to happen. And that's how I found out about the illegal medical card stuff. I think he bought a few set of teeth for some of the staff. And I don't know if Carol or Jeff Lowe paid for Eric Cowie's teeth. I see he got new teeth too down in Florida. So kind of weird it's in Florida, but anyway, I don't know. That sponsor came in through the zoo. I don't remember her last name, but I know her name was Cheryl. And she had some money. She had some retirement money, some big money. And Jeff just milked her dry, man. Jeez, I don't know if she's still involved or not, but I heard she was involved in Thackerville, but I don't know if it's true or not. Not there anymore to confirm all that. But, yeah, he milked her dry. She bought a bunch of material to build cages, bought him a bus for Vegas and had it wrapped and then never used it. Hell, I know. I'm in the vinyl business. I know what that wrap cost. Holy shit. And then I hear he's talked her into buying property in Thackerville, too. And I don't know when she quits, man. She just keeps giving to him and getting conned and worked over. Jeff started this Vegas thing, and every time he'd go to Vegas, he'd call Joe, I need some money. I need some money. Need some money. All the time, man, Joe was having to overnight him some mail or some money through Walmart. I mean, constantly. And then we'd have to swap out cubs. He'd take cubs out there. If we got the cubs back, he'd swap them out. And they'd come back meaner and shit because they didn't have no training or anything. I know a couple cubs didn't come back. A couple animals didn't come back. Raccoons didn't come back. Skunks didn't come back. But we had a couple older tigers that we had to put down. And everybody knows it. Ever since I started, if you were there a year, Joe would make you a necklace with a tiger tooth. Well, I had cut some teeth out of the tiger, and Jeff Lowe wanted them. So we had to give them to Jeff Lowe. I don't know where they went. Well, one day we had an older tiger that we put down, and Jeff says, I need the feet. I said, what do you mean you need the feet? He made me cut the feet off that dead tiger and put them in bags so he could take them to Vegas to sell them. So I did. And long story short, he forgot them and didn't take them, so I actually buried them because I was staying at Jeff Lowe's house after my cabin got sold out from under me and all that after I'd quit the first time. But anyways, I was staying at Jeff Lowe's house, and I was putting ice cream in his freezer, and I seen the feet in there. So I said, there's no fucking way I'm going to leave these in this freezer. First of all, it's illegal. Second of all, he didn't need to sell them in Vegas, so I actually buried them. And, I mean, last I heard, he thought Saff had robbed him because Saff was staying there too or something. But I just let it go and never told him different because I didn't want to be a part of selling fucking tiger feet in Vegas. See, we had some tiger hides done, and I wanted one of the first tigers that I'd taken care of, and Joe had 4 or 5 of them done, and Jeff Lowe had one on his wall in his cabin. Well, I had come home for the weekend, and Joe called me and said, "Where's the keys to Jeff's cabin?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Jeff Lowe wants them so he can send them to Vegas. He's got them sold." And I said, "That's not on me, you guys." I said, "You can't sell them tiger hides across the state line." Anyways, I told them how to get in the cabin, and they got in the cabin and sent them to Jeff out in Vegas. I actually think John Finley actually hauled him out there. I think I met him halfway or something. But anyways, he got the hide, and it never came back, so I'm sure he sold it in Vegas. Travis was one that he wasn't afraid to give you his opinion. Travis was not fond of Jeff Lowe at all because Travis knew how much money Joe was sending Jeff Lowe out in Vegas. And I mean, it wasn't 100 here, 100 there. It was thousands here and thousands there. I mean, it was $5,000, $6,000 at a time. And Travis seen that. And Travis had to bite his tongue, stay to himself. So if Jeff was on the park, Travis just stayed away, stayed hid, because Travis would have confronted him and made it known. And that was just Travis. I missed the shit out of that guy. I loved that guy. Out of all the puppies Joe ever had, Travis was the one I liked the most. For that reason, he would tell you how he felt. But if I needed something, Travis was there. And he was not fond of Jeff Lowe at all. A lot of people brought up all the deaths that we have of babies. That was all KMR implemented. You know, KMR came out with bad formula. We had 25 cubs die in a period of time. And there's paperwork and write-ups and what is it, FOI, Freedom of Information out there to prove. I mean, KMR sent us a pallet of freaking formula because they knew they'd screwed up. And that's how them cubs died. We didn't kill them cubs. We didn't euthanize those cubs. Those were all from KMR.
And that was a long time. That was that one incident.
Yes, that was that one incident. And then they fixed their formula and never had a problem again. I could be a spokesperson for KMR because I have saved, I'm not going to lie, we had a bunch of cubs in 14 years. I saved a bunch of cubs on KMR. It's something that happens. And it's not just us. It's every zoo out there. They're all pulling their cubs, trying to make them better cubs and make them survive because mom won't necessarily take care of them all the time. But when you do have a cub that's deformed or something wrong, club-footed, you probably should euthanize it, and that's what needs to happen. People don't look at the big picture. At one time we had 189 cats, and we had, I don't know, at one time I probably had 24 cubs born within a 4-week period. Wasn't expecting that. We took some cats in, and they got pregnant. When you have that many cats, man, you're going to have to put some down for old age or problems. We had a protocol that said if we couldn't get the vet and we need to take care of something, that we could euthanize them with a bullet. It's more humane to euthanize them with a bullet. It's quick. If I got to dart that cat, sometimes I miss the medicine and I got to dart him 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I miss the dart. You're tormenting that cat, man. You're running that cat to death. It's just mean to do it that way if you're going to euthanize them. Everybody thinks it's humane. They need to watch it one time and see how humane it is. Sometimes they go into seizures. It's not always pretty. A bullet to the head is instant, and it's done. Those were not young cubs. Rumor has it, Lauren said they were 3- and 4-year-old cubs. She's full of shit. Those cubs were all 17, 18 years old at the top of their life. They wasn't going to live much longer. They'd been declawed. We had just gotten told by the USDA we were going to get rode up if we didn't put them on arthritis medicine every day and took care of this problem. And holy shit, that's expensive, and you got to trust your staff to give the medicine. And it was just not going to happen that way. So Joe elected to euthanize him, and he did, which was his right. I don't know why they made it a big deal. Go shoot your horse in the head when he breaks a leg. You can't do that no more now. Because if Joe can't shoot his tigers because of a medical problem, you can't shoot your horse for a medical problem. So call a vet. Pay that damn $700 to have him euthanized.
Let me ask you a question, Rinke.
I'm passionate on that. And let me tell you, it pisses me off.
You know a lot of people in farming, right?
Yep.
Do they call out a vet to put a horse or a cow down?
Hell no, they don't. They walk to the truck, they get their shotgun or their rifle, and they shoot it. And that's just the way it happens. And that is horse shit. to prosecute him for doing that to 5 tigers, that there's got to be there's paper somewhere that tells us we had to put them on arthritis medicine. I know there is somewhere.
And arthritis medicine, does it really give them a good quality of life
It, you know,
at the end of it?
it doesn't. I'm on arthritis medicine, and somebody probably needs to put me down. It's a pain in the ass. I get sick every time I take it. It sucks. She sees it. I mean, I'm ruined for a day and a half every time I take it, and I have to take it once a week. I wouldn't want an animal to go through that, and to see that now and see what they did to Joe, it's just wrong. When Jeff Lowe started his Las Vegas thing, somebody has to run the park. We had to have money to run the park. We had to have checks, pay bills, and all that. Jeff Lowe went and got a stamp of his signature so Joe could stamp checks and pay the people that got checks and pay the bills and stuff like that. Jeff Lowe give Joe permission to use that stamp. And now Jeff Lowe comes out and says, Joe illegally used this stamp and stole all this money. That's bullshit. I don't think Jeff was on the stand. I think it was Lauren that made the comment that Joe illegally used that stamp. That's bullshit. Joe had permission to use that stamp.
And Jeff gave it to him.
And Jeff gave it to him.
And in Jeff's absence, Joe would execute on that
Yep.
behalf.
Yes. Yeah, when Jeff was out of town, if Jeff was there, he would just sign the checks. And Jeff would sign 5 or 6 checks before he left. And when it all started, and then they found out that it wasn't enough checks, so that's when Jeff Lowe come back and got the stamp for him and give him permission for the stamp. You know, the prosecution was going to use me in the suit, in the court case, but they didn't need me, so I got to go to the end of the trial. And when I got to be there for the reading of the charges and all that stuff, and then I got to be there for when the jury come back in convictions. One of the charges was the health certificates were illegally filled out. They were filled out wrong, and which made it illegal. And you know, when we did health certificates, Dr. Green never checked any of the boxes ever. The whole 14 years I was there, she would never check the boxes of selling, trading, donating, or any of that. She never did none of that. And for some reason, we didn't either. We just leave it blank. For some reason, her secretary, one of them, checked the box as selling the tiger. And they convicted Joe of something somebody else did on a health certificate. That is so wrong. I can honestly tell you, I bet Joe didn't see health certificates because that all went through me. You know, I took care of the health certificates. I took care of the transfer forms. And they convicted Joe because he was ultimately responsible, is what the judge said. But how are we responsible for, you know, something somebody else checked on that box? I mean, if that's the case, anybody could have checked anything on there. I mean, I could send somebody to jail just by putting an X on a damn box somewhere and they not see it. It was wrong for him to be convicted on that. I about died when I heard that conviction come back on that health certificate charge. I said, holy shit.
Now, you were originally going to testify, right?
Yeah, originally, you know, Joe's attorneys called me. They come and visited me first, and then I never heard from them again. And then towards the end, before the trial started, I mean, they waited till the last minute to talk to me, and then they subpoenaed me after they had their talk. They called me and told me that they didn't need me, and it's just crazy.
It wasn't a big preparation for you to go because
Shit.
they said it was disrespectful for you to not
Oh yeah,
wear
they
pants.
told me I had to buy pants because I couldn't disrespect the judge. I couldn't wear my hat and I understood the hat thing, but I didn't understand the pants thing. Because everybody knows me, I don't wear pants. I didn't even own pants. I had to go buy pants for this damn court case. And then they called me and told me that they didn't need me. Yeah, they give me all the ins and outs of everything I had to do to prep to go to court and everything. They were going to pay me so much money to appear. They were going to pay for a motel room. I had to stay in a certain room. I had a room number and everything. All that was already set up. And then I believe it was the day before I was supposed to go and leave to go up there. They called me and said they weren't going to need me. And I'd done bought pants and got ready to go and everything. I mean, I was pissed.
Did you find that odd?
I did find that odd.
Tell me, what,
After 14 years of running the day-to-day operations and some of the ins and outs of that zoo, nobody talked to me on the stand. Nobody wanted my opinion, and nobody wanted to talk to Rinke. And I don't know. It was because I wasn't a drunk or on drugs when I was on the stand, or I don't know what it was. But they talked to all them people. They talked to Eric Cowie, who was drunk on the stand. They talked to Glover, that was on something when he's on the stand, and lied and perjured himself right there on the stand. It's crazy how they talked to all the, I ain't afraid to say it, talked to all the idiots, but they didn't want to talk to the guy that ran the place. It kind of blew my mind. And to this day, I still don't understand why not. Not that I wanted to, because believe me, I didn't want to get involved, but I was already involved.
Next to Joe, who would know as much about that park? You.
That would be me.
Yeah, you'd be number
That
two.
would be me, because if Joe left, it was me. I was the guy. I had to run the studio when Joe was gone. I had to run the zoo. I had to make sure the checks got paid. I had to make sure everything was taken care of when Joe wasn't there. I was number two. Jeff said to, I believe Jeff told Joe to just get him out of there, because I mean it was a fight to get him off the zoo. Yeah, because it was ugly. I mean, it was to the point where they were actually exchanging words, and I didn't even want to talk to him. And Jeff said to get him off the park until he got back, and then they'd discuss it. And that's how the $3,000 bullshit all came up. I think this whole ramrod thing was all in play at that time. Alan Glover came along with Jeff Lowe, and it was Jeff Lowe's right-hand man from Myrtle Beach. And he's a little different, thuggy type, convict-looking type. Me and Joe never trusted him, ever. I mean, he was just shady. If I took a piss, Jeff Lowe knew it before I got out of the damn pisser. If Joe went to town, Jeff Lowe knew it before Joe got back from town. Jeff Lowe's in Vegas and left Alan Glover to be his little snitch on the park. So we never trusted him, and I think he knew that. And he didn't like us, and we didn't like him. And that's pretty much how the damn paid to kill Carol Baskin bullshit started, because Joe wanted him off the park. I wanted him off the park. I mean, we couldn't do jack shit without Jeff Lowe calling or throwing a tissy fit. So Joe says, we don't get along. You need to leave. Here's $3,000. Go home till Jeff figures out what he's going to do here, and with you, and be off. And that's how that all started. So then he just housed up in his trailer and never come out, and just stayed there on the park. He was Glover was a weasel, man. He was just a fall-to guy. Jeff Lowe's puppet. Whatever Jeff Lowe said, Alan Glover did or said. And that's true to this day, because, first of all, who in their right mind is going to take $3,000 to kill somebody? That's just bullshit. So that's how that all trumped up, that Joe paid Alan Glover to kill Carol. Whatever. First of all, Joe would have never just paid somebody to kill Carol Baskin. That would have never went that far without somebody kicking him in the ass, poking him in the side, pushing it along. None of that would ever got said. We've all said it. It's on videos on YouTube. It's all out there.
It's part of an act.
We all said it. I mean, Carol sued me in federal court, sued Joe in federal court, sued everybody involved in federal court. What is she going to get from me? Nothing. We've all said it. We wanted the bitch dead. She just need to go on with her life. Somebody need to offer. We all said it. And I'll say it. I said it. It's out there. But he would have never pursued it without somebody kicking the dog and pushing this along. Jeff Lowe.
They introduced the undercover, and I saw in the series he didn't make
no
they
money
about it, but there's no deal.
No money changed hands, but yet he still got a conviction out of it. Now, how in the hell is that possible? It was ramrodded. Joe got a bad deal. Did Joe do some things wrong? Yes, he did. Did Joe deserve 22 years? Hell no. He's been in there long enough now for his crimes that he did that were misdemeanors and should have been tickets. I mean, he never had any charges before, so why is a first-time charge that damn... I mean, he got max on that stuff.
And normally they would be what?
Tickets. They were just tickets and fines is all it was. And the only reason he got a ticket was because to pay the fine. And that's just insane that they did that. Insane.
Do you think Joe paid $3,000 for a hitman to a guy named Allen Glover that has substance abuse issues and other issues. Do you think that's what the $3,000 was for? And if you don't think that's what it was for, what was the $3,000 for?
First of all, there's no way. Joe's not that stupid. You're not going to hire a hitman for $3,000. I don't give a shit who you are. There ain't enough zeros on the back of that 3, I promise you. And Joe's not dumb. He knows that. Allen Glover, I don't think could kill anybody. He might have a teardrop from being in prison, but hell, anybody could tattoo a teardrop. That $3,000 was purposely given to Allen Glover to get him off the property to get out of our hair. Like I said before, he was a pain in our ass, a thorn in our side. He wouldn't do anything, and he was still drawing a paycheck, and he wouldn't even show up to work most of the time. And it was solely to get him off the property and get him out of our hair because we didn't want to deal with him.
What was Allen Glover's work ethic?
He didn't have work ethics. If he showed up for work, he did what he wanted to do, when he wanted to do it, and how he wanted to do it, if he did it.
And what do you think his main job was at the GW Zoo?
He didn't really have a job, but his main purpose was to keep an eye on Joe.
And who would he relay that information to?
He would relay that to Jeff Lowe. Like I said, Jeff Lowe knew everything before we even did it. I can honestly say the judge had to have it out for Joe. I don't know if he's homophobe or what, but anybody else, Joe didn't have a record. Joe didn't do a bunch of felonies and convictions. I think Jeff Lowe's a felon. Allen Glover's a felon. There's one other felon that was on the property. But anyways, I could see them getting maximum penalties. Joe hadn't done nothing wrong.
Joe had no criminal history.
And he had 17 charges of tickets and fines. And he gets time for all those, which is just absolutely insane. So this judge definitely threw the book at Joe. And to this day, he just didn't like Joe to get the max.
Let me ask you this. There's a lot of cowboys in Oklahoma, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of cowboys, a bunch of farmers.
And what about if you're a gay cowboy? Do you stand out a little bit?
Yeah, you know, and that's funny you say something like that. Oklahoma is, they're not real fond of gays, you know. I worked with Joe, and I worked with gays. I worked with the lesbians. I worked with all of them. People wanting to transgender, I worked with all of them. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not gay, I'm straight, but that's my priority, my prerogative. I remember John Finley getting arrested one time and going to jail, and they put him in pink handcuffs and paraded him through the jail before they put him in a cell. And that right there is Oklahoma.
It's Grady County, right?
That's great. I think it was Grady County, yeah.
Okay.
No, that was
Joe,
Garvin. It was Garvin County.
Okay.
Garvin County.
I remember that.
The whole time I was there, and for some of the employees to come out and just bash Joe, the ones that are bashing Joe just blows my mind, because if they got in trouble and went to jail, they called Joe. Joe had to bail them out. If their car got impounded because they went to jail, Joe had to bail their car out. He did that so many times. He did it out of his own. That was Joe. That's the way Joe was. Joe was nice. Joe fed the hungry. If you were hungry and you needed a meal, Joe would feed you. He fed everybody for Thanksgiving and Christmas free every year. He cooked turkeys and all kinds of shit.
Made a lot of last wishes come through for people.
Yeah, I mean, we went to OU Medical and took kids that were dying gifts and stuff up there, and we passed them out. Make-A-Wish. We called Make-A-Wish, and we did some Make-A-Wish deals. We took tiger cubs to people that were dying and stuff like that. He did that stuff all the time. If you come in with a disabled child and something was wrong, Joe always give them special, he'd pay special attention to them and make them feel wanted and cared for and all that. And he always did that. Even in his magic show, he always did that. He would touch on them people's hearts.
He was an inclusive person.
Yeah. I mean, he had a good heart.
Let me ask you this. I see Joe as a threat to people that have big salaries at zoos globally. They get fanfare about once every 5 years, these folks that are highly paid and educated. And they're celebrated if they're able to make something successfully, right? We know that Joe has worked with some of the top minds in Texas A&M, and we know that Joe knows the secret.
Yeah.
The secret to that is the ability to mate, right?
Many, many times we always talked about all that. The CEOs, like at the Oklahoma City Zoo and stuff like that, man, they live in some houses now. I mean,
Yeah.
some houses. And here's Joe in a mediocre house. You smelled cat piss every time you walked in it. It was always about the animals. And Joe made sure of that, you know. It was always about the people, trying to make them happy. And, you know, he got a little eccentric there towards the end, but hell, he was driven to it, you know. He loved the animals. I mean, now we're being accused of abusing animals, and that's just insane.
See, so I almost
Absolutely
think,
insane.
I almost think that when you look at the zoos, I almost think that it's a person that makes the accusation. They're doing something bad to cover what they do.
Most of the time, if somebody's pointing a finger, that's because they're in the wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that's the old saying, you shouldn't throw rocks in a glass house, and that's what that's all about. Most of the time, that's the way it was.
Are you aware of any other folks that were on your, that were affiliated with GW Zoo? There was recently a show that came out on Animal Planet. Are you aware that any of those folks got paid for their participation?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got paid for their participation. I mean, I haven't seen it in writing, but I've been told a nice little sum too. But you know, I got persecuted, I should say, on Facebook because I made the statement out there that the number one person talking on there was a wolf guy and a gift shop girl. And I got hammered because she's not a gift shop girl. Yeah, she was a gift shop girl for 3 or 4 months, and she worked out on the park for 5 months or 6 months, and that was it. And you would have thought she ran that place the way they talked to her all the time and carried on. And
Certainly not the expertise.
no,
14 years
no,
plus.
no. No, they didn't want to talk to me because I could have told them about the wolf guy, and I could have told them about them killing a wolf, and that's why the numbers on the wolf were wrong, because the people that come to get the wolves ran the wolf so damn bad it killed him. You know, they didn't talk about that. Why didn't they talk about that?
Yeah. It's hard to do a documentary when you're paying your talent.
And now I find out that the wolf guy is convicted. Never in my life would I thought we'd come to this murder for hire and 17 Lacey Act cases on Joe. Never. It's real odd. And for Joe to just say, hey, here's $3,000, go kill Carol, to Alan Glover is just, it just didn't happen.
It sure makes it easy when Jeff is pulling up everything on Google Maps.
Google Maps.
Yep.
And they even had it, how to do it and everything. They had it down. They just sat there and discussed that. And
So Jeff really should be in prison.
yeah. I mean, he's as guilty as Joe is, if not more. I would say more. But since it all came out, I mean, it's out there. Jeff makes the comment. I mean, he sits there and coaches Alan Glover on his speech the whole time, and they got it all on film. How is that even? I mean, how does that? Jury didn't see that, I can promise you. Yeah, it was odd. It just blows my mind that nobody wanted to talk to the guy that was right there beside Joe for 14 years.
Do you think
Through it all.
He had incompetent representation?
Yeah, he definitely did. And you know, I told them when they showed up to interview me, y'all ain't got enough paperwork. I said, y'all have a whole lot bigger job than this to do. And they told me, said, we have other cases we have to deal with too. Yeah, you know.
Let me ask you.
I guess
two
he's
more
just a
questions
sheep in the
for you.
field, I guess.
Yeah. So a defense attorney that's supplied by the government in a case from the government against your client, right? Your guy.
Kind of stacked already, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of stacked already, it seems. I find it really odd that they didn't call any witnesses. A ton of evidence was suppressed. It's almost like they're playing on the same team.
Yeah, well, you know they are. I mean, they know who writes, they know who signs their checks. They didn't talk to me probably 2.5 hours.
In this case, a case of this level with this many charges, this is a case that is going to take a lot of investigating, it's gonna take a lot of time, and it's easier for those guys to do a plea deal, correct?
Correct.
Joe didn't want to do a plea deal, right?
Right.
Because he's innocent.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they didn't put the necessary talent and time into the case. They went in half-loaded defending him.
I don't even think they're half loaded.
Well, I was being gracious.
I mean, yeah, you know, I don't remember all the questions they asked, but I know the questions that they did ask me just really didn't have anything to.
Didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense, and that's why I question. You know, y'all got a lot of work ahead of you. I mean, y'all haven't got enough paperwork there.
So one of the things that Team Tiger is doing is obviously we petitioned President Donald J. Trump, number 45. We petitioned for a pardon for Joe. And that pardon includes everything that we've talked about and more in this interview. The one thing that we would like President Donald J. Trump to know is that the system is corrupt. And we think that President Donald Trump, out of all presidents, understands when someone targets you. Whether you're a person that is a threat, someone, I mean, he's been targeted many, many times.
Yeah.
It's relentless. People in his administration, his family. So, you know, this case to us is about the American, a guy living the American dream. He was successful in his own right. He helped people. He was gracious. The same people that he helped have turned around to bite them for a couple of dollars from documentaries that, you know, you're not supposed to pay people for. If you're doing
Yeah,
it through documentary,
They say it's unethical.
it's unethical. And when you start paying, then you start becoming an actor.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you would like to say to President Donald J. Trump on behalf of Joe?
Look, the evidence is there. It speaks for itself. The whole country's talking about it. He was definitely railroaded. You know it, the judicial system is a mess. To have paid federal employees defending somebody against paid federal employees, it can't work that way. These guys didn't put an effort into saving Joe at all. I mean, I'm sure they didn't care. Look at the evidence. It's all there. Do the right thing. You're the man. It's all in your hands.
And in closing this interview out, we think that Joe is really the perfect spokesperson for criminal justice reform and prison reform. Joe has, again, been targeted. We can prove that there was a conspiracy. We can prove that there is collusion. We can prove a lot of things. And we think Joe, from now being on the inside convicted, sitting there, communicating with his legal team as he does very regularly, we think that he's the perfect spokesperson because, look, you have people all over this country that are Joes that are wrongfully convicted, a victim of the system. We think Joe could be a great spokesperson and truly help get the criminal justice system back on track. And when a person's wrongfully convicted, that makes serving that time a little bit harder, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. When they know they're innocent, and you know, and like you said, it's not just Joe. You see it all the time. This guy was in here for 15 years before he got out. You know, innocent because they didn't look at the right evidence. You see it all the time, and that's just wrong, man. That's 15 years he won't get back. I mean,
this country's better than that, right?
Oh yes.
This country is better
Yes,
than that.
this
They
country
should not
definitely
be
needs to
excluded.
be better than that.
Yes.
Yeah.